Hi everyone, so today I'm going to be going over proportions. So to start off, a proportion is when two ratios have the same value, they form a proportion. So it's basically just an equation that shows the two ratios are equal. As you can see down here, the ratio of circles to triangles is the same in both sets of shapes below. So the first ratio is one circle for every two triangles, or 1/2. And the second ratio is two circles for every four triangles, which is 2/4. That's not written, but 2/4. So the ratio is 1 and 2, 1/2, and 2/4 can form the proportion 1/2 equals 2/4. Also, we know that 2/4 simplified is 1/2, and 2 is half of 4. So we know that those two would be equal. So how can we tell if two ratios do form a proportion? To tell if two ratios can form a proportion, we compare them. So it can help to write the ratios as fractions with common denominators. If fractions are equivalent, they can form a proportion. So if we want to determine if 4/9 and 20/45 forms a proportion, so we want to compare the fractions, and we would write them to have common denominators. So in this case, our common denominator could be 45 because 9 goes into 45 evenly. So if we are looking at 4/9, in order to get the common denominator of 45, we would multiply 9 by 5 to get 45. So then we would do the same to the numerator, multiply 4 by 5, and we get 20/45. So since 4/9 is equivalent to 20/45, the ratios 4/9 and 20/45 form this proportion, and they're equal. So here are some example problem. So this is solving proportions using cross multiplication. So some proportions use a variable to stand for an unknown quantity. In this case, it would be x. And you can use cross multiplication to solve for the proportion. So how we're going to do that is multiply. Essentially, we're just going to multiply the values across the corners of the proportions. So here we have 6 and 50. So we want to change that equal sign to essentially a multiplication sign. So 6 times 50 is 300. And then 15 times x is 15x. And you're just going to want to solve for x now. So in order to solve for x, we need to divide both sides by 15. And you get 20. So x equals 20. Which would mean your answer is 6/15 equals 20/50. Okay, so here, the next way to solve for a proportion is using inverse operations. So you want to get the variable alone, and to do this, so we have the similar, 6/15 equals 20/x instead of x/20. So the first thing we're going to want to do is multiply both sides of the proportion by x. So if it's if we're multiplying both sides by x, on this side our x's cancel each other out because it's being divided here. And then here we get 6/15x equals 20. And then next thing we're going to want to do is multiply both sides by 15. So similar to multiplying by x, since we're dividing the 15, our 15s get canceled out, so we get 6x equals 300. And then you want to divide both sides by 6, and we get x equals 50. So the final proportion is 6/15 equals 20/50, and those are two equal ratios. So that's it for proportions today. If you guys have more questions, I can do another video next week on just proportion problems. Uh, but other than that, that's all. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your week.